Day 3. What happens when the only sound keeping you sane in space is someone else's breathing? I woke before Mara today. Not because I'd slept well, sleep doesn't exist here the way it does on Earth, but because the darkness had been pressing on me for hours. Out here, there's no sunrise creeping through curtains, no birds outside the window. Just the constant hum of the life support system, like a mechanical heartbeat, and the sound of my own breathing echoing in my helmet during drills. I unzipped my sleeping bag and drifted in the dim blue glow of the control panel. My eyes kept finding the counter, 72 hours 4 minutes and 16 seconds, hours since the system failure. Each flicker of the numbers felt like time reminding me it was still moving, even if we weren't. Mara was strapped into her bag a few meters away. Even in zero gravity, she looked human in a way I couldn't manage. One knee bent, arms loose, her dark hair floating softly in the air currents. For a second too long, she was so still I thought. Then her chest rose, faint but steady, and I let the breath out of my lungs. Couldn't sleep? Her voice was soft, rough. I almost laughed. Could you? She slipped out of her bag and pulled herself toward me with careful, practiced movements. I tried. I dreamt we were back in Houston, in that awful simulator, except you were the instructor, and you kept failing me on purpose. That sounds about right, I said, smiling a little, though it didn't quite reach me. Dreams were dangerous up here. They reminded you of comfort, and comfort, in space, was cruel. We ran diagnostics together. Oxygen reclamation was steady, but the water reserves were dipping faster than I liked. We both knew why: sweat, thirst, nerves. Out here, space steals from you quietly, until you notice too late. 2 more days before we need to start rationing seriously, she said. I didn't answer right away. My gaze lingered on the panel, as if staring could change the numbers. Finally, I exhaled. We'll figure it out. We always do. Later, we worked on the communications array. Or rather, she hovered with tools while I tried to coax something useful out of the uplink. Static, nothing else. I lost myself in the rhythm of it, hands steady, motions exact. Mara watched me, silent. I could feel her eyes even without looking. Do you think they even know? She asked suddenly. I froze. That we're still alive? That we're this cut off? That we're... She faltered. Alone, isolated, adrift, none of those words were big enough for what this was. They know, I said finally, softer than I meant to. They have to. We shared a meal later. If you could call it that. A pouch of rehydrated pasta passed back and forth between us. In the silence, it felt almost holy. Remember the steakhouse in Florida? She asked. I closed my eyes. The smell of grilled ribeye, butter sizzling, clinking silverware, it all came back sharp and vivid. I laughed. The 20-ounce ribeye. You said I'd never finish it. You didn't, she grinned. You left it in the hotel fridge. For the first time in too long, we both laughed. The sound felt like warmth in the cold. When we were done, she drifted to the observation window. I followed. Earth glowed below us, oceans like liquid sapphire, sunlight painting the clouds in molten gold. For a long time, neither of us spoke. It's strange, she whispered. How alive it looks from up here. You'd never think anything could go wrong down there. Maybe it's the same from Earth, I said. They look up at the station and see a bright star moving across the sky, and they never think the people inside are holding their breath. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment something unspoken hung between us, fragile, raw, charged like static. That night, as she strapped into her bag, I found myself listening to her breathing. Steady rhythmic pee. Day 4. Ever heard metal breathe? Out here, it does, and every groan feels like a warning the universe whispers before it kills you. I woke to the sound of metal breathing. That's the only way I can describe it, a low, drawn-out groan that seemed to come from the ship's bones. In zero gravity, sound carries strangely. It doesn't rumble up from the floor like it does on Earth. It seeps into you through the walls, through your hands, through the very air you're breathing. For a few seconds, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming. But then I saw it, Mara, already awake, floating near the viewport, her breath fogging the glass in tiny bursts. She didn't turn to me right away. Her gaze was locked outside, on something far beyond the glass. "What is it?" I asked, pushing myself closer, my voice cracking from the dryness in my throat. She didn't answer. That was Mara. She wouldn't speak until she was sure of what she saw. I hated it sometimes. But I respected it too. When I reached her, I saw nothing but the same endless black we'd been drifting through since the swarm hit us. No stars here felt warm. They were all cold, sharp points, like they could cut you if you stared too long. Then I saw it. A flicker. Not from the stars. Something moving. For half a heartbeat, I thought it might be another ship. Rescue. But Mara whispered before I could open my mouth. Debris. And it's coming toward us. I didn't need to ask from where. There was only one answer, the meteor swarm. Or what was left of it. The flicker turned into a glint, the glint into a jagged silhouette. Pieces of twisted metal, scorched rock, spinning in the dark. No engines. No control. Just a slow, inevitable drift, guided by physics and nothing else. We were in its path. Mara pushed off toward the controls, her movements sharp, no wasted motion. Suit up. Now. I didn't argue. You don't argue when you can feel the seconds bleeding away. I floated toward the storage locker, pulling out the EVA suits. Mine smelled faintly of burnt wiring, a reminder of the swarm's first kiss with our hull. We worked in silence. The kind that isn't empty, but heavy. Every hiss of the suit seals locking into place felt like a countdown. The plan was simple. If we couldn't move the ship, we'd have to move ourselves. The debris would pass close enough for us to use the magnetic clamps, maybe grab something useful before it shredded us to pieces. But simple doesn't mean safe. Mara caught my arm before I locked my helmet. Her grip was firm, but her eyes, they were softer than I'd ever seen them. If we get separated out there, she started then stopped, as if even saying it would make it happen. We won't, I said, sharper than I meant to. She held my gaze for one long second before turning away. But I felt it, the unspoken truth hanging between us. We were both lying. When the airlock opened, the silence outside swallowed me whole. No hum of oxygen fans, no faint vibrations from the ship. Just my own breath, loud in my helmet. The debris was closer now, glinting in the distant starlight. Some of it looked like pieces of other ships. Others were too warped to name. I felt small, not in the poetic way, but in the terrifying way that tells you the universe does not care if you live or die. We pushed off, tethers taut, drifting toward the incoming graveyard of metal and stone. My heart hammered in my chest. I wasn't sure if it was fear, or something else. The debris closed in, spinning like a graveyard of broken ships, and all I could think was, if the tether snaps, do I die alone, or does Mara?